Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Sarah. Today I want to talk about 7 reverse culture shocks that I experienced when I was in the US this summer. The first thing that I noticed when I went home, how big the roads actually are. It's not like there's 2 lanes. There is like 4 lanes going one direction, and then there's 4 lanes going back the other direction. So that is an 8-lane highway, and it's packed. There's always traffic. It makes me laugh because there's just so many people coming and going, and everybody there has a car. For example, here we have, it is much different. Yes, there are some areas that have bigger highways, like if you're going into Medellin or going into Bogota, the 2-lane road will shift into maybe 4 lanes, but it's a total of 4 lanes. I'm not sure that I've ever seen more than a 4-lane highway here. I don't know, maybe there is. If there is, drop me a comment. I have not experienced that, but just realizing how big the roads are and how everybody is on the road, it seems like, at the same time. I mean, it doesn't matter what time it is, the roads are always packed, it seems. The second thing that is kind of similar to big roads is big supermarkets. Needless to say, if you go to a normal supermarket, you can get everything you need at one supermarket. Typically, they have everything. If you go to a Costco, you can get everything you need, from like medications to tools to hiking gear to clothes to fruits to vegetables to alcohol. I mean, it is literally a one-stop shop, and everything is like bulk. Here, we don't buy in bulk. I don't really know anybody here that does, because, and I know a lot of people right now are like maybe stocking up because food is a little bit scarce. Here, we aren't doing that. We grow a lot of our own stuff, and a lot of stuff in town is from the local produce, and a lot of people grow and then sell it. So there's never a shortage. My boyfriend tells me the eggs came from down the street and the plantains came from our yard. So it's a little bit different here, because in the US you don't have the ability to grow, especially in the wintertime. I mean, yeah, I guess you can, and house growing and stuff, but it's not common. Here it's very common. I should also say that I'm speaking from living in the countryside of Colombia. Yes, if you're in Medellin, you're in the big cities, Medellin or Bogota, they do have Éxito. They do have bigger shopping centers that you can get everything. Éxito is like a Colombian Target. But we don't have one here. If I want to go to one, I have to actually go to Medellin, which is a 4-hour bus ride away. In my town, if I want to go get good fruits or vegetables, I need to go to the verderia. Or if I want to buy something to work in the garden, like a new machete, I need to go to the ferreteria, which is like the Home Depot, the equivalent of like a mini Home Depot. If I want to buy stuff, to buy chickens or to get anything related to farm equipment, I need to go to the farm equipment store. So everything has its little area. And then we also have one store in town, a couple stores in town that kind of sell a little bit of everything. But if I need medications, I still need to go to the pharmacy. I mean, I can maybe get an ibuprofen at the de uno, but that's about it. It's not like I can go and pick up my prescriptions. Like, whereas if you're at Costco or Vons, you can drop off your prescription and pick it up when you're done shopping. So everything kind of has its place here, whereas in the US, everything has its place there too, in one big freaking huge massive store. So for me, that was really interesting to see after not really seeing it for so long. The third thing that is different is when you go out to eat at a restaurant in the US, instantly someone greets you, someone seats you, and someone is there within like 3 seconds to take your order, which, coming from a culture where everything is a little bit slower and people take their time, it is very overwhelming. I actually hate it. I hate, as soon as I sit down, someone's there to take my order, asking me a million questions before I even have had the chance to open the menu. And then when you do open the menu, I mean, it's like a bazillion things that you have the choices, and it takes me forever, and then like the waitress gets impatient, and I used to wait tables, so I understand. But now that I don't, and I'm not in that mindset anymore, it's so different. Like, every time I go to a restaurant with my family, they're like, are you gonna be okay? Because the first thing I do is I sit and I'm like, why are they bothering me? I just got here. I don't know what I want. Like, I have no idea what's on the menu. So my sister's always like, it's gonna be okay. Because I just can't handle being bombarded with 100 questions. So here in Colombia, if you go to a, like, maybe like a 5-star restaurant, it might be similar, like someone will come and seat you, but it's not gonna be immediately. So here in town, we don't have any 5-star restaurants. The only place you're gonna find them is gonna be in the big cities. Yet again, like I said, this is specifically small town country, Colombia. And we go in town, we sit down, we have to wave our hand, ask for a menu, wave our hand, ask what the special is, wave our hand to get someone to come take our order, wave our hand to get our bill, or you just walk up to them. And it's not rude here. That's completely normal. And it just like takes the stress off of like having to feel pressured to order, having to feel pressured to eat my meal, having to feel pressured to like turn the table, because here they don't work on tips, which is a whole other thing, is like the non-tipping culture. Yeah, if we have leftover, a little bit of change left over, you can leave it as a tip and they're always grateful, but you're not expected to leave like a 20% tip, which I mean, I love, because you can sit there as long as you want, you can enjoy your meal, you can hang out, and not one person will never tell you that you have to leave unless they're closing, and I don't even think then they would tell you that they're closing. So for me, being in the US, being rushed, and the waitress wanting to flip her table for tips, very stressful, very, very stressful. It is not a pleasing experience for me, and I try to avoid it at all costs. The fourth thing that is actually a good reverse culture shock is English. Obviously everybody speaks English. I mean, yes, there are places like Miami, LA that Spanish is spoken a lot. However, the majority, it's English speaking. And I can't tell you how nice it is to be understood by everybody. It is from like going to get a coffee to like going out to eat, being at anywhere that you have to ask a question or do anything. It just is so nice to just be heard and understood, and someone being like, oh, okay. And also, that also can be a flip side, because sometimes when I'm here and I want to go out and I just want to zone out, if everyone's speaking Spanish, I can tune it out. Like, my Spanish isn't fluent to the point of understanding every conversation, but if someone sits next to me and they're speaking English, I instantly tune into what they're saying. So here it's nice because I can tune out and zone out. There, I'm understood, but yet I hear everything. So it can be a pro and a con. However, it was a reverse culture shock, from like everyone down to like the plane to ordering a coffee. It's just like, was one of those things that after living abroad for so long, you're just like, ah, I'm understood, I'm heard. But you can also speak Spanish, because everyone speaks Spanish in Miami, which is nice, because sometimes when you lived abroad for so long in Spanish-speaking countries, it is also nice to hear that, because you're like, ah, yes, I understand. Like, I understand if I tune into what they're saying, but I don't have to. I can do everything in English or in Spanish, which is nice. The fourth thing that surprises me in the US that I always forget is the lunch culture. Here in Colombia, it is very common to have lunch as our biggest meal. And typically for lunch, if you go out and you get like a menu del dia, it will come with a juice, a drink, a juice or lemonade or a guandolo, rice, a protein, a salad, and a soup or beans. But you can get whatever you want, and it's usually going to be a big portion of food, because lunch is the biggest meal of the day, and typically lunch is had with your coworkers, your family, and it's like the dinner in the US. In the US we have a big dinner, and lunch is like on the go, something fast, and it is not a sit down and eat. So here we sit down and eat. I really do miss, I like the lunch culture that we have here. The fifth thing in the US, there is lack of public transportation. Unless you live in a big city. My sister lives in Boston, but she lives outside the city. My other sister lives in LA, but we all know LA has zero public transportation. Okay, there is a train and there's buses. I have taken them both and they're a headache. They're not easy, they're not user-friendly, and it takes you forever to get anywhere. If I am in Medellin, I can get on the metro. Super easy, super fast. They have buses, you can take taxis. Even in my town, I did a video on public transportation. I can go out to the road, catch a bus, tuk-tuk, motor taxi, or I can walk. So I'm in the habit of walking everywhere. If I want something, everything is pretty accessible. Even down the street, down at the bottom of the hill, there's a little tienda, the locals run it out of their house, which is very common to see Colombians, or this can be all over the world, I've seen it in other countries as well, running like a little tienda that has water, snacks, beer, ice cream out of their home, essentially. And I can go down there and buy a bag of chips if I wanted, or some cookies, or I like soda water. I buy soda water there. But in the US, if I want something, someone has to drive me. Lack of public transportation is a huge thing there. The seventh thing is a lot of people complain all the time about everything. And if you're watching this and you're from the US, you're probably like not liking me right now. But as soon as I sat down and if someone started randomly talking to me, the first things that they would tell me is all the problems in the world. And we kind of already know, like, unless you're like living under a rock, you already know that there's a lot of problems in the world. Why do we always have to constantly be like berating this issue and being like, oh, you know, this is happening, this is happening? Yeah, almost all of us do, but we don't constantly like to talk about it all the time. People in Colombia do complain, so I'm not saying that there's not a complaint culture. It just maybe because I can tune everybody out. But I just noticed that in the US, it seems like everybody is constantly complaining and constantly rushing around to get nowhere, essentially. Here, I mean, yeah, you might hear some people like grumbling a bit, but most people but it's more common here to see someone enjoying a beer in the town, hanging out with their friends at a coffee shop, as opposed to in the US. I mean, I can't even tell you, I didn't see that, because number one, we don't have a coffee culture. We have it here, obviously the weather is better, but even in the summer, like, probably because the waitresses are trying to turn over the tables. So people just aren't sitting around chilling and relaxing. And we're like a hustle culture, 24/7, you're always expected to be doing something, working. And it's just really stressful being there. Like, I was really, really stressed out when I was there, from being in the grocery store, like next, from like being rushed at a table. It's just like, seems like everyone's always rushing. Whereas here, yeah, I live in a small town, and maybe small towns USA are a little different, but it's just the whole energy in the air is a stressful energy for me. And I was like, thinking about it, like, makes me stressed out. These are just 7 of the things that I experienced when I was home in reverse culture shock from going from Colombia to the US. I have about 100 more. I don't want to make this video too long, so I will be doing parts 2 through whatever until I get through my whole list. If you like this video, drop me a comment, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. If you did not like this video, I'm sorry, you don't have to follow me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.